Welcome to episode 38 of Rebirth Revolution. My name is Melissa Olson. Another week of the pandemic under our belts. Not that we're wearing belts. That would be insane. It has become quite apparent that we all have different ways of coping. Some become super productive, some not so much. I have days where I can get things done and other days when I'm just looking to get through the day. This process enlightens us as to our true nature, which is a good and useful thing. Pay attention to how different choices make you feel. Pay attention to which coping strategies work for you, because that is what matters. It doesn't matter if anyone else is cleaning out their closet. If you would rather do anything but clean out your closet, do what works for you. Know yourself without judgment, because the strategies that are working for you now will be needed down the road. Back in the olden days, when we could do such things, one of the things that brought me joy was meandering through one of my favorite stores, Home Goods. Oh, how I loved poking through all the weird little treasures they have there. I look forward to doing it again someday. It is always quiet and peaceful in there. I go when there are few people around, which is always the best. So one day, as I was enjoying the kitchen gadgets, a woman walks by, talking loudly on her cell phone, talking crap about another woman. It is apparent that the person with whom she was speaking was in deep agreement with her. They are picking apart everything this woman has said, done, and worn that bothers them. There is a particular kind of energy that people have when they are tearing down others. It is gleeful and somewhat manic. I can tell this is likely the conversation she loved most that day. So here's the kicker. The woman they were talking about is someone in their Bible study class. How do I know this? Because there were sentences that began with, "Remember what she did at Bible study?" Somehow, I don't think the point of Bible study is to pick apart the other people there, but what do I know? From what I could gather about the conversation, the two women entered some sort of competitive mode of trying to outdo each other with an even more egregious tale of what this woman had said, done, or worn. You could tell it was somewhat thrilling. This woman had absolutely no shame in saying terrible things about this other woman because she spoke loudly as she walked up and down all the aisles. No shame. And this is in a very public place. I'm guessing that if she were to imagine what the other shoppers, who couldn't help but hear her, thought, it would be that the lady in Bible study was a real mess. I don't think it would occur to her that instead people would think that she was petty and cruel in lacking in consideration for the Bible study lady, as well as everyone else who had to listen to her venomous rant in an otherwise calm and peaceful Home Goods. It fascinates me to see people do this sort of thing in public. It's like they think they're in a protective bubble, like they're in their car. She doesn't know that the Bible study woman isn't in the store. She doesn't seem to care that her conversation can be heard for at least a couple of rows in every direction. In this day and age, you can't be completely sure that others can't hear your conversations, read your texts and emails, access your private photos. Privacy is not guaranteed anywhere. There was a story about a home assistance device that recorded the conversation a couple was having in their home, transcribed it, and sent it to one of his employees. They had no idea it was happening. With active microphones everywhere you turn, surveillance devices, in-home cameras sending images into the cloud, are you fine with the prospect of everything you say and do being available to anyone who decides to hack it, or being available to who knows who because the device malfunctioned? Does anyone live in a way that they would want the entire world to see? The woman in the store behaved as if none of us could hear her. And if she realized we could, she didn't care that we knew how judgmental and unkind she was. Do you think she would say all the same mean things to the woman she was disparaging? It seems to me that people who lack basic integrity are always the ones who will smile at your face and eviscerate you behind your back. It takes much more bravery to point out in the moment that you think the woman is doing something wrong in Bible study. This is low-level behavior, and instead of addressing the issue with the only person who is actually involved, low-level people will find other low-level people to share their darkness with. They feed off of this particular strain of cruelty. I find the near constant surveillance of this modern world disturbing, but maybe we could use this reality to really put ourselves in check. Maybe considering that everything you say and do can become tomorrow's news is a way to really decide who you want to be and the choices you're going to want to make to align with that vision. And once the cameras catch you doing something heinous, don't try the "that's not who I am" defense. We can see who you are. In a spiritual sense, every single thing you do counts. Maybe we need to start living our earth experience like we truly understand that. This week, a different woman's life unraveled when the video of her reporting to the police that an African-American man was threatening her in Central Park came to light. It was a truly disturbing video because we witnessed her adopt a distressed voice that was meant to make law enforcement respond in a fashion that would endanger the person she was reporting. All of this while we could see that she was not in any sort of danger. She was simply asked to put her dog on a leash in an area where that was required. She even warned the man that she was going to lie and say that he was threatening her life. The fact that she was strangling her dog while doing all of this was hard to watch, but a much smaller point than the fact that she knew she had the ability to weaponize her position of privilege as a white woman to punish a man of color for asking her to do what was reasonable and required. We are here for the healing. We are here to see it all, figure out what parts of it need fixing, and we are here to assist in the healing. It says a lot that the man who was filming her acting out is someone in our culture who needs to film everything so he has the video evidence should things go sideways. Imagine having to live that way, knowing that at any moment the people around you can make choices that will require you to defend yourself with cold hard evidence. I can't imagine needing to operate on that level because that is not my reality. It is not the curriculum that I chose to work through this time around. I don't think I'm at a high enough level of spiritual awareness yet to take that work on. I am someone who can sit on the sidelines and call out the fouls as I see them, but the fouls are rarely against me. I don't think I'm at a high enough level of spiritual awareness where I would have the fortitude to be able to walk out into a world each day that included so many people who meant me harm. I can't imagine the backbone it takes to be able to do that daily and keep any faith in humanity, let alone the energy to keep moving my own story forward. We are all here to assist in the healing, but some of us have the ability to enjoy a comfortable seat while it happens. Others are bold and strong and brave enough to have come here to be in the middle of this. They came here to change it by spending a lifetime suffering the slings and arrows, while calling out the systemic change that we all desperately need. It is head-spinning to see that everything in the Park Lady's life that mattered to her, her name, her reputation, her job, and even the dog, are no longer in her life. When you do something heinous, it can all disappear in a matter of hours. But that is not the story. We are here to participate in the healing. We can't heal what we are unwilling to look at. Social media is ramping up the path to growth, as so much of what we choose to do can be known by millions in the blink of an eye. But the healing we are here to do is not limited to this cop-calling, dog-choking woman. We are here to recognize that we have built systems that protect some people while victimizing others. And the dividing line is usually melanin-based or based on the resources of the people involved. We have built up and defended toxic systems that desperately need healing. It won't be enough that we just fix ourselves. On the other side of the rebirth, we will still need systems. We will need government. We will need law enforcement. We will still have people who want to band with others who think and feel as they do. We just can't continue to support people from low levels of spiritual awareness having control over or power within those systems. We think that being loyal to whichever groups we belong is a sign of higher thinking, of some sort of integrity. But we need to keep in mind the troubling fact that, as humans, we are not good at holding others accountable. We tend to see things in absolute terms. We think that some people are all good and other people are all bad. Some think that religious organizations, law enforcement, and their political party are above reproach. Reproach is the expression of disapproval or disappointment. It is to blame or discredit. There is no person or group of people who are above reproach. We can't fix what we refuse to look at. So it is with religious organizations, law enforcement, and political parties, to name a few. Our unwillingness to see that all organizations contain some very low-level, very depraved people signals our inability to hold them accountable. That, in turn, leaves all members of the clergy, all members of law enforcement, and all politicians painted with the broad brush of being the dregs of society. Humans are messy, messy creatures. No one is all good or all bad. The sacred role we play for each other is to hold one another accountable. The sacred role we play as the collective culture is to constantly re-examine the systems we have put into place and those we grant power due to proximity. The issue is not that the Park Lady had her life stripped bare in less than a day. The issue is that she has been taught that the systems in place make it possible for her to set into motion the events that could very possibly end in the death of the man she threatened. She was fine with the fact that her choice could potentially end in the death of the man who asked her to obey the sign in an area where he was bird watching, the sign that said dogs must be on a leash. This is the depravity of the situation. Had the police shown up and the birdwatcher pulled his phone from his pocket to show them the evidence of what actually went down, a law enforcement officer could have shot him and would have been exonerated by saying he thought he might be pulling a gun. We know this to be a possibility because we've seen it happen. In fact, this week, We watched a man die in the street with an officer's knee on his neck. Imagine generations of people telling the stories of the abuse they were subjected to, only to be told, that isn't true. Then we advance to an age where everyone has a phone in their pocket that is capable of capturing what is happening, and people still don't want to accept the truth. As tempting as it may be to not watch the video of someone being killed, it is your duty to do so. Those of us in the majority, those of us with more power, are required to protect those with less power. That is how the healing can happen. Humans hate to face difficult truths, but the rebirth cannot result in a better world if we do not face and address that which is impossible to stomach. The rules of the system have let people who enjoy more privilege seemingly get away with their disastrous choices, but do not, even for a minute, think that these acts are not on the souls of those involved. No matter what consequence they face in the earth school, the truest of consequences are dispensed once they return home. Every soul must account for the choices they have made, all of the choices. If a spiritual crime has been committed, then that soul must redeem itself. There must be atonement. There must be a filling of the gap in awareness that brought about the spiritual breach. There is no working outside of the system. No one gets away with anything. It would make no sense for anyone to get away with anything, because the whole point of the system is that we are here to grow into the highest forms of ourselves. We are here to achieve our master's degree, and that cannot be done without making mistakes, both big and small, learning from the natural consequences, and atoning for those mistakes. When you kill someone, or create a scenario where someone else will do it for you, you are back at the preschool level of spiritual awareness. You are back to starting from scratch. This will always be true, no matter how much power or money you possess. You cannot buy your way in or out of the levels. I get how overwhelming all of this is. We get no break from the evidence showing us exactly how low many around us are willing to go. It's awful to be steeped in all of this darkness. But here's the thing. We will continue to be steeped in this darkness as long as we are unwilling to take it on. As long as we are willing to be led by those who spew hatred, lies, and depravity, we are agreeing to live in a world ruled by darkness. If it is easier to look away than it is to fully admit what a mess we are in, then we will continue to be dragged down by those who want to ruin it all. We are here for the healing, which means we will live up to our responsibility for holding ourselves and others accountable. To do that, we will have to endure this phase where everyone reveals who they truly are. It will twist your gut, hurt your head, it will break your heart, but we need to know. Ignorance is not bliss. And once you have soaked in the stories of the individual characters, train your focus on the system that is in place to give comfort and cover to those who are committing the spiritual crimes. Each story is telling us something that we need to know so that we may do our part. Once you realize that it all must bubble to the surface before we can address it, the stronger your resolve will be. It is not in your imagination that the speed with which the darkness is being revealed is increasing. It is coming in hot and heavy. But rest assured that we are moving forward in just the way this was designed to go. The toxins bubbling to the surface must be disinfected by the light. Thanks for listening to Rebirth Revolution. I hope it helps you sort some things out. I'm so grateful for our new listeners in India and Poland. Even though this podcast comes from the center of the United States, we are all in the same system. We are all facing the same challenges as one another. It may look very different depending on where you are, but this rebirth is about and for the entire planet. We all chose to come here for this spiritual challenge and chose the places where we could best contribute. The Rebirth Revolution podcast is available in the expected places, along with on Spotify, Pandora, and SoundCloud. We're also on YouTube. If there is a provider I have overlooked, please let me know. If you have any questions for us, email us at rebirthrev@gmail.com or leave a comment on rebirthrevolution.com. You can also find our Facebook page and talk to us there. Until next week, be patient with yourself and others. Get some sunshine in a safe way. Check in on those you love. And know that we will outlast those who have already shown their weakness. Remember, you are loved exactly as much as every other person on the planet, not 1 ounce more or 1 ounce less. Be strong, stay safe, and envision the healing.